Hello, I'm Leonard Jowers. I'm doing another short video here about CMMC and some issues that come up associated with it. The view, opinions, and findings contained in this material, and those of the authors and should not be construed as representing a U.S. official U.S. government position or our decision, our policy, unless designated by some other documentation. So the question is the issue with sole source suppliers. Now, Jacob Horn of Summit 7 in Huntsville, he's very active in CMMC and DPARs. He said recently a sole supplier will be able to negotiate cybersecurity. And that's sort of true. Now, so supplier is somebody who can only organization, a person, a place, or thing that can provide what you need. So they may be a sole supplier. And the question is how much power do they have to negotiate cybersecurity? Well, it's not very likely. When a solicitation includes the CMMC level, it is not negotiable like the price and the delivery schedule. Even in sole source awards, the contracting officer is required to follow the regulation if CUI is present and CMMC has been designated. And some may say, well, that can be changed. Well, in 32 CFR 170.d at 5D, in very limited circumstances, some really high up people can allow that not allow a subcontractor or contractor not to comply. And if you want to see more about that, look at DFARS 252-204-7025 and the 32 CFR 170 and 48 CFR 204.704. Now, say you don't have to go look it up. This is some of the more important things for what we're talking about associated with it. One is the C paragraph here specifies flow down, and the D paragraph is the full wording of what I had just spoken of. So I'd like to think for a moment about this, what I call a scenario from hell. That's where you are a contractor or subcontractor and have a sole source subcontractor. And let's pretend now the subcontractor is already CMMC Level 2 certified, so you were able to bid, and you got the contract. But 1 year into the 3-year CUI contract, the owners decide that CMMC Level 2 is too expensive. And what they want to do is they want to renegotiate something or maybe even go out of business. So what can you do, and what should you have already done? They may just realize that they're in deep doo-doo of non-compliance. So you are still fully responsible. The full U.S. government enforcement rights are against you. And as a prime or as a subprime, you must ensure that any subcontractor handling CUI meets the required CMMC level at the time of the award, and then they have to be meeting it when you get paid. So if the subcontractor cannot obtain level and maintain level 2, the prime is non-compliant, and the government may issue a cure notice, withhold payments, terminate for default, or require corrective action, or for that matter, go after the sub for many other things. So what you must do? Well, these are some of the common things people talk about. You might have to buy out the subcontractor. You may have to replace the subcontractor, but you may have a contract now. So your contract may or may not be written so you can do that. You restructure your work so no CUI flows to them, obtain a rare waiver, and there it's tough, and then risk contract breach or penalties on you or your prime. So the reason why this becomes an issue here is that, or has become an issue, is that the market is feeling the compliance with costs. That some of the subs are refusing level 2 cost. They don't want to go level 2 certification. They read about it and they know what it's going to cost them. And so far, you haven't been willing to pay them enough to go and to bite into that apple. And smaller suppliers are just exiting the defense. They're saying, this makes no sense to me. What I do doesn't make enough money. It's not the major part of my business. I'm out of here. We're talking about somebody who may be a sole supplier to you. They may be the one that sells you the oil that you spray on your tires to make them look good, but it may be a sole supplier. Primes are consolidating the supply chains. That's another thing that's happening. So an important thing to do is you need to have leverage in your contract. So that when something like this happens, you have to look to how it could go bad. Something like this happens, you have something you can work on. And simply writing, the owner shall be responsible or shall be reliable, that just isn't going to cut it. That's usually not enforceable. And please note, I'm not a lawyer. And please have your lawyer bless any additions to your contracts or modifications. Option A, personal guarantees. A separate signed personal guarantee from each owner is one of the things you need to have in the contract, and the suggestion is written there. That puts the personal assets at risk, their personal assets at risk. And without that, what happens? You're usually stuck with the entity's assets. And that's even if something disastrous that that they don't decide to get out, but let's say that somebody gets hit by a truck. So banks use this type of guarantee all the time. Option B, expanded indemnification. Inside the contract, put in things like this: broad indemnification for non-compliance, recover of downstream damages, cost of reprocurement, just all these kind of things. Put those into your contract in some way. And there's an example that I've put down here at the bottom. And this does not automatically create personal liability, but it does make the entity, that is your sub, fully exposed. Option C, cybersecurity representation as a material condition of payment. Otherwise, you want explicit wording such as certification status constitutes a material condition of payment. So you can ask for something like if they happen to put in a SPURS score, their SPURS scores, which otherwise they're not required to give you. Or if they're doing self-assessments or self-attesting, that they supply you with that document. And if they falsely represent compliance, you can trigger all these other things that may happen. Now, fraud can pierce through veil. So nothing's going to trump the fact, nothing's going to trump that you go to the subcontractor from time to time to see how they do business. Otherwise, no matter what the contract says, you don't want this thing to go bad. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you go to their site and you do the walk around to see what's happening and maybe ask some questions. They won't be required to answer you, but the government, they would be if the government did it. Option D, flow down of DFARS with express liability. Otherwise, specifically reference in the contract these two DFARS documents and include language that states that failure to comply with these two documents as material breach and grounds for immediate termination for default and whatever things you put in your contract to take care of that. If you don't remember, the 7025 is the notice of CMMC certification level requirements, and the 7012 is just the fundamental safeguarding of covered defense information, CDI. Now, option E are security deposits or escrow. So when something goes wrong, when you're really in trouble, you don't have to go running after their assets, personal assets, but you can do some things requiring compliance bond, retainage, title to certification again, performance bonds, escrow remediation reserve, and money. They all create leverage. And the reason why I put in the retainage tied to certification, you can find yourself in a situation where you still have to give them money, but if you hold back money when they're not certified, then you can't, if they're not compliant, is what I should say. If they're not compliant, then they will be wanting to get that money back, and they'll get that. You won't have to work as hard to get them compliant. And option F, owner level certification statement. This is the great thing to put in a contract, separate from the corporate certification. You want to have every owner of the organization state that they certify individually under penalty of perjury, etc., that they're going to stay in compliance. And this introduces a personal fraud exposure if it's knowingly false, and that is legally significant. If you found this presentation informational, please like it in the video so that others may know that it may be worth their time, and feedback is appreciated.